New day, same me. No rush, I'm where I should be. Turn the noise down, see me shining. Low-key thriving, low-key thriving.
The longest relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. And some of us are still in a toxic situationship with who we are. What's up? It's your girl Mel G, and today's episode we're getting into the hardest relationship you'll ever have, and that is the relationship we have with ourselves. Remember, I'm not a guru, I'm not a life coach, I'm not even licensed to give you anything but my opinion. And yeah, sit down, enjoy, and Loki, let's thrive. Right. Loki, the relationship we have with ourselves is the hardest one we'll ever have. It's not your marriage, it's not parenting, it's not friendships, because you can walk away from all those relationships. You can walk away from all those people, but we can't walk away from ourselves. Think about it. We hear our own thoughts all the time. We don't get breaks from our inner critics. We compare ourselves, our comparison habits, our doubts, our past mistakes, and other people may judge you occasionally, but we tend to judge ourselves constantly. And the hard part of all of that, we believe all those things. We believe our inner critic when it tells us we're too loud, we're too messy, we're not doing the best. We listen to that inner critic, right? We listen to our comparison habits, or we stick with our comparison habits. Why aren't my videos getting enough views? Why isn't my marriage like their marriage? Why are my kids not behaving, but their kids are? We start to doubt ourselves. Why am I not doing so great? Why have I not lost those 10 pounds? It must be something I'm not doing. I'm not going to be successful because I've only had 10 streams. And our past mistakes, we can't run from them. It's happened, they exist, but for some reason we tend to dwell on those. We think about those past mistakes all the time. What happened if I didn't take the blue pill or I took the red pill? Where would I be? Where would I not be? We dwell on those things. And maybe you think taking whatever pill is a mistake or it wasn't a mistake. I'll give you a real life example. I have one vocal cord. That's why sometimes you'll hear all the weird things. And see, oh my God, stop. It's the inner voice. I'm going into a tangent ADHD where I was going to start explaining how insecure I feel about my voice. Um, Anyways, I don't need to go there. I have one vocal cord from having my thyroidectomy. I had half of my thyroid removed because I had a nodule, and it's left me with a paralyzed vocal cord. So I'm down to one. And I can tell you, I hear a difference in my voice. It's only when I go back to certain recordings way back that I can tell a difference. Many people who talk to me today are like, oh, I couldn't even tell. I can tell. And that inner critic is like, your voice is not the same, girl. I compare myself to the way I used to sound, and I believe that I sounded a lot better. And so now as I start a podcast, I tend to doubt, my viewership, my listening, whatever, because I'm like, oh, my voice is terrible. Who wants to listen to me talk for an hour when I sound like this or when I'm hacking or, it's Texas, so we've got cedar fever and there's drainage and ew. And I tend to doubt whether or not I should have had that surgery. Or did I go to the right surgeon? Or was it something I did? Did I make a mistake? Was getting the surgery a mistake? I don't know if you've ever been down that, but I've had this surgery. It's been well over 10 years, and I'm still dwelling on it. And I still have to stop and pause and think, well, Mel G, if you didn't have that surgery, it could have led to cancer, which could have been way worse. It could have led to so many other things. And I'm thankful that I still am able to speak, that I didn't have to go through radiation, especially right after having a baby because I had just had Cecilia. So grateful everything was benign. And I have to pause and sit in that reflection for a little bit. Do the pivot, remind myself that I am doing great. And low key, my voice is different. And sometimes I sound a little bit spicier. I don't know. It's the weird little things. Or if I turn my head to one side, I sound like Marilyn Monroe. So the little things. We have to start counting the little wins. That's why we're here. Low key, we're still thriving. And we know our intentions and our insecurities. And I think that's another big reason having a relationship with yourself is so hard. Other people only see what we show them. But the procrastination, the jealousy, the fear, the pettiness, the moments you shrink, and the moments you self sabotage. We see all of those red flags in other people, and we're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to foster a relationship with somebody else who has all those nasty qualities. But yet, we can recognize those things in ourselves and we don't do anything about it. Or maybe sometimes we do, but I've always seen negative things come about it, or we try not to fix it. I can tell you all those things, like the list, and I want to immediately fix that person. I immediately want to fix their jealousy issue, right? I started this podcast for all this. I want to help somebody fix themselves. But how do I go about fixing these issues in myself? It's hard to love someone when you've seen them at their worst. And we've seen ourselves at our worst all the time. I've hit rock bottom several times. I've had to dig myself out of holes. I've had to dig myself out of depressions. And so I recognize these red flags in myself. I can definitely start to recognize these red flags. I did it earlier, right? When I was speaking, I recognized that red flag coming up and I had to stop, deflect. Yeah. Stop and deflect what I was going to say because I could go down a whole rabbit hole and start to get depressed again and start to shrink myself and self sabotage. But that's not what I'm about anymore. I'm evolving into somebody who can recognize these insecurities and find the intentions of the reasoning why I'm feeling insecure. And I said that for a reason, intentions. I feel like everything we do in this world, everything we say to ourselves, our friends, especially in our relationship, there's some kind of intention behind it. Even if it's subconscious. There's a reason why I tell my kid to point her toes when she's tumbling. I feel like there's an intention to fix, and sometimes there's an intention to be like, "Hey, somebody else is gonna call out my kid, and I don't want them to call her out, so I'm gonna call her out because it sounds better coming from her mom." There's an intention behind it. And I think we need to recognize, break down our relationship, break down our red flags to dig out the intention. Why are we feeling jealous? Why are we procrastinating? Take a minute and really reflect on the why behind something. It comes to me at work all the time. I always want to see the big picture. I always want to know the why behind something. And I think, oh, it's so easy for me to do at work and break down this puzzle and then put the pieces back together to make the big picture. But it's so hard to do it for myself. It's so hard to break down these little moments, these intentions, to really find out why I'm feeling insecure, why I'm feeling this way. And honestly, we expect perfection from ourselves. We give our friends grace, we give our spouses grace, we give our kids all the grace. But what happens when we mess up? What happens when I mess up? I replay it, I analyze it, I shame myself for it. The standards I hold myself to are often so unrealistic and so unspoken. We put an unrealistic amount of pressure on ourselves. And we've got the internet, we've got soft parenting, we've got soft lifestyles. We've got all this stuff saying therapist, people, I mean, we've got access to doctors and therapists from all around the world. And we see their 30-second clips on TikTok telling us how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to live. But yet, we've never sat in their chair and been realistically diagnosed by them. So we're getting their opinion, we're getting their interview question, their interview answer, and we're comparing it to our lives. But we're not giving ourselves grace. We haven't figured out what the meaning behind however we're feeling is. And that's really hard. So sometimes we have to pause and realize we can't compare ourselves to people on the internet. We can't compare ourselves to the case studies. You might fit into those majorities, to those percentages, but you can't necessarily go, oh, I'm automatically in that category. You have to give yourself a little bit of grace. Realize your situation isn't the same as everybody else's situation. Everybody's life is unique. Every being is different than the other being. And we were created for that reason. We were created to share our experience. So when you're starting to replay all your mistakes, all your messiness, and you start to analyze it, don't shame yourself. Give yourself some grace. Realize that you're not supposed to be perfect, that you messed up to learn from it. Yes, I truly, truly believe that everything happens for a reason, and it could be bad, it could be good, but there's always something to learn from it. If it was a terrible mistake, you learn from it, you grow from it, you evolve into something better the next time that situation arises. Maybe you listen to a friend better. Maybe you apologize to somebody. Maybe you apologize to yourself. Think of that strong. Maybe you apologize to yourself. You give yourself some grace. So if you start to analyze it, don't shame yourself. Pause and reflect in whatever way you can. Recently, it's been helping me to write it down and reflect on it. Use the apps we have to be powerful. Use my voice to not only replay it for myself, but maybe for somebody else to hear as well. You're doing okay. You're still thriving, even if you're mildly falling apart. You're still thriving, even if you've gained 5 pounds. But now your hips move a little bit more. Now you've got a little bit more curve to your body. Whatever. Find the positive in it. The standards we hold ourselves to, again, are unrealistic. And we have society giving us unrealistic expectations of our lives. We have a serious, unhealthy, unrealistic reality right now where, I mean, a household of 5, I think I did like a glance at it, needs to be making well over $200,000 just to pay the bills. To me, that's kind of unrealistic. Jobs aren't paying as well, hours are getting cut, schools are getting closed down. So when I start to analyze my life and compare myself and shame myself for not being where I feel like I need to be, I really had to pause and take a look around and realize, yeah, I'm not the only one in this boat. And what's happening is baddie. Nobody should be having to live in a household with 2 working adults raising 3 children, making 200 plus thousand dollars and barely scraping by. Like, when did $200,000 a year become middle class? Ew. So yes, we are learning to evolve into better beings. You've heard me talk about this in early episodes. That's what we're here on this planet to do. We're here to learn from our mistakes, to evolve into being the people we want to be. Do I need to necessarily make $200,000 a year by myself? Absolutely not. Is that something I wanna strive to do? Sure. Yeah, definitely. I would love to have some extra cheddar in my pocket. But I need to set realistic expectations. I need to talk about it, whether it's to a therapist, my spouse, my friend group. I need to be able to talk about it and set realistic goals for myself. Again, we're evolving, but for some reason, we're also attached to the old version of ourselves. Now, this one hits for millennials especially. We're grieving who we thought we'd be, the timelines we imagined, the body we used to have, the energy we used to carry, the confidence we used to carry to fake better. Ooh, you heard me right. We had a lot of confidence, and I feel like I've always grown up with the saying, fake it till you make it. But honestly, as millennials, I didn't think I'd be sitting here at 37 talking into a microphone. I didn't think podcasts would be a thing. I thought realistically I could apply and go on the real world and share my life experience, but that's not really realistic to pack up my life and move away in a mansion with 7 strangers. That's totally not realistic, and looking back at it now, it wasn't. Like, these people had to quit their jobs, move away from home, start over, live with 7 roommates in a rented mansion on a network that doesn't even exist anymore? Yeah, definitely not who I thought I'd be now speaking into a microphone. And I didn't imagine at 37 that I'd be doing this. For some reason, I thought 37, I'd be the CEO of my own company, running the world. I'd be the next Miranda Priestley, editor in chief at Vogue. I don't know. And for some reason, 37 sounded so old. And now I'm here that's like 40. I can't wait to be 40. 40 is going to be the new 21. So my timeline has just warped. And I don't know about other millennials out there, but do you remember what you thought your timeline was going to be? When you look back, what do you see? I'm curious. Let's talk about this in the chat. The body we used to have. Now, this is hilarious because we're having that revival moment, and I feel like how my mom felt when, like, bell bottoms came back and, like, the disco clothes came back, and now what is it, Gen Alpha? I don't know. These new generations are getting a taste of millennial fashion. We're getting low-rise jeans, we're getting baby doll tops. I was in Ross the other day, and I saw, like, South Pole jeans, Jinko's coming back, the skater shoes, the skater fashion. It's Ed Hardy, okay? That's all coming back. Can you believe it? And as millennials, now here's a difference between the generations, right? As millennials, diet culture was so real. So it was so hard. I had the hardest time. My body, and I've got extreme body dysmorphia, and I was so unhealthy back in the day, but I had the greatest body. I loved my body. I thought bikini tops were an acceptable form of clothing to go to Walmart, to go to parties, whatever. I would literally be in bikini tops and shorts with a bolero jacket. Ew. Now, diet culture was so real. It wasn't heroin chic. It was like, and I think there was a line in the movie Clueless where it was like, "Oh my god, I had a breadstick and a Diet Coke for lunch. I'm such a cow." What? You had a tiny breadstick and a Diet Coke and you feel like a cow? Meanwhile, I just scarfed down 4 slices of pizza, probably half a liter of Dr. Pepper, and I'm still like, I could go for some Pringles after this. Like, diet culture back then was so real, and body image, totally unrealistic. Probably another episode for another day. But it was so hard to fall in love with ourselves because we felt like we had to have this perfect body. We had to squeeze into those ultra low rise jeans, which I've seen come back. Oof, and I don't know how we did it. I don't know how we wore those pants. I don't know how I wore those pants. I had a few pair, and let me tell you, you couldn't bend, twitch, shake without either your front crack showing or your back crack showing. It not cute, okay? Can we not bring that back, y'all? Anyways, so we grieve the body we used to have. And it's hard for us now because that revival's coming back. So we see it in fashion. We see it when we take our kids out to the mall. Like, I want to wear these juicy couture, you know, sweatsuits, velour suits. And you're like, dang, I used to rock those so hard. But now I've got these tiger stripes on my belly and my thighs, and you got the mom fupa. It ain't working. If you're dads, I don't, you've got the beer belly. Maybe you have extra hair. I don't know. These are just things I hear my husband say, you know? He was fit back then. And now he's like, "Oh," and he still has some shirts from back in the day, and he'll be like, "Oh, it doesn't look the same." And my husband's he's got a nice dad bod. I appreciate his dad bod. But, we grieve our old bodies. Men and women the same. We're equally attacked. The energy we used to carry. Man, do you remember back in the day, and we hear it all the time, like, we would be able to get home from a party, a function, a school activity, like get off the bus at 3 a.m., have to be to work at 5 a.m., work your 8-hour shift plus, and then we'd kind of do it all over again. We would hit the club, we would do the activity, we would do the things, and we would just have the energy. And we still had the energy to work out in between there. Like, I don't know how I squeezed in like 3 to 5 miles a day, worked, partied, did all the things, and kind of still kept up with myself. Like, I grieve not having that energy today. I try and do that today, and it's like I need 3 Red Bulls and a heart attack, you know? And that's not cute. That's not a cute look. We're trying to live the healthy lifestyle, and I can't be chugging Red Bulls like I used to. And yeah, it's just not the same. Like now I have 2 Red Bulls and I have an anxiety attack. Back then I would have 2 Red Bulls, hit the club, drink more like Red Bulls and vodka or whatever my poison was, and be totally okay to wake up in the morning and go to work. Yeah, I can't do that anymore. Now I have 2 Red Bulls and I think I'm having a panic attack or I might be having a heart attack and I need to go sit in an ice bath or something. Anyways, people don't be out there drinking energy drinks like that. And I don't mean to name Red Bull, that's just my drink of choice. And there are warning labels, so please, people, read your cans. That's my disclaimer so I don't get sued. Yeah, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a guru. I'm just here giving you my life experience. Now, my last little bullet point here, the confidence we used to fake better. Man, the fake it till you make it was so real, and I grieve being able to do that sometimes. I mean, I'm never a fake person. What you see is what you get with me. What I say is what I say. Sometimes I stick my foot in my mouth. But honestly, sometimes to be able to put on a smile and pretend like everything's hunky dory, sometimes I grieve that because it would make me feel better in the long run. It just kind of eased something. And it did. I did fake it till I make it. I would fake that smile until I actually felt some kind of way or, it just, whatever I was feeling at the time, whatever I was faking or hiding, melted away. And I really believed whatever I was faking, whatever wasn't real. So it's hard to love yourself when you're constantly comparing yourself to your younger self. And it's even harder now that we're having that revival. And we can't outsource the relationship we have with ourselves. We can get therapy, read books, listen to podcasts. We can pray, we can journal. But at the end of the day, we still have to sit with ourselves. And a lot of us stay busy so we don't have to. Yep, I'm calling you out. I'm calling myself out. A lot of us fake being busy so we don't have to sit with ourselves. And I talked about it earlier. We tend to think about everything else we need to do, we make ourselves busy so we don't have to sit with ourselves. It's so hard. I wake up in the morning and instead of just reflecting on what I want to do that day, set my goals, I wind up getting on social media and scrolling. And I look at my views and I look at all the other things and then the spiral. And so we've really gotten uncomfortable again with not being able to just be, to just be like a sunflower in a field, to just sit there. If a bee lands on us, a bee lands on us. If a petal falls, a petal falls. If your left leaf is a little saggier than your right leaf, it is what it is. You're a flower. You started out as a seed, and now you're a 7 foot tall, glowing sunflower in the breeze. We go with the flow of the breeze. We don't try and fight it. We don't go against it. We flow with it. We can't do that anymore. We've struggled with that. We want our phones. We don't go on Do Not Disturb. We think about all the things we have to do, all the laundry, all the things we make up just so we don't have to sit with ourselves and our thoughts. And maybe you need to sit with yourself and a pencil or a pen and a blank page. Maybe you need to turn off all the noise and the distractions. Maybe instead of doom scrolling in your bed, you lay there. Maybe you just sit and pause for 5 minutes in the day. I've said it before when I've had busy work days. Sometimes I just go out and sit in the sun for 5 minutes. Or I try to count 100 steps in. Something. Something to just give myself a break. Give that voice in my head a break. Give my fingers a break. And just sit with myself. Much like you would go on a date, take some time out to talk to your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your partner. Much like we would seek time out just to be with them. Sometimes it's just a cuddle, a hug. Sometimes it's just being in the presence of another person, not necessarily talking. We need to be able to bring that energy into the relationship we have with ourselves. We need to be able to sit with ourselves. We need to be able to have tough conversations with ourselves. And we need to be able to do that because the relationship we have with ourselves affects everything else. How you talk to yourself really impacts your marriage. It really impacts your parenting, your friendships, your business confidence, your boundaries. And if you don't respect yourself, you tolerate things you shouldn't. If you don't trust yourself, you second guess everything. And I think about this a lot raising 3 girls. I have a terrible relationship with myself, especially when it comes to my looks, my body image, and the way I talk about myself in front of the girls can really affect them. And I'm not the first person to say this. I won't be the last person to say this. And it's little things I catch. I say, oh, like, "Ugh, I can't fit into these jeans. I've gotten a little too fat. I can't believe I'm so dumb. I totally put the butter in the pantry when it's supposed to be in the fridge. I'm so dumb. I can't believe I dropped that plate and it shattered. What was I thinking? Why wasn't I slowing down?" All those little things, right? And I give a good example of this because I realize, especially my youngest 2 daughters, I see it a lot with my youngest. When she makes a mistake or something happens that she wasn't expecting, she can completely go into a meltdown. And a good example of this the other day was she was shaking her cup and it had Sprite in it, and the Sprite spilled all over her. And I just did like a and I was like, "Oh, hold on. Let me go get a napkin. Let me go get this." And I realized she was like, "Oh, mom, I'm so dumb, mommy. Why did I do that? Why did I do that?" And she's crying and she was kind of hysterical. And I'm like, "My God, I would do that in that situation. Like if I just happen to shake my cup or I'm dancing around, I spill my drink on myself. What an idiot. Like who spills their drink on themselves? I'm an adult. Like what was I thinking? What was I doing? And I shame myself for it. And it was just a little mistake. It's just a little Sprite. Nothing to worry about. But I realize the way that I treat myself directly affects the way my daughters treat themselves. They think that that's what's supposed to happen when you spill Sprite on yourself. When in reality, it's Sprite. You can get more Sprite. You can dry yourself off. You can get a napkin. You can change clothes. You can take a shower. Whatever you need to do. And now I think it's so funny. She's been working at it at school. We've been working on it at home. And it's the things, the new generations teach us. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay that we spilled the Sprite. It's okay that we wasted a little bit of Sprite on ourselves. It's okay that we used a paper towel. It's totally okay to make that mistake. So things that we fix and we can work on to change for the better, especially in front of our children. And sometimes as women, and maybe fathers too. I don't know. I don't have a son, but I see it too with my husband when he's like, "Oh, I'm not strong enough to do this." Or, this is what a man's supposed to be. Because again, toxic masculinity is a real thing, y'all. And especially in the Hispanic culture, the male is this strong figure that can never cry, never break down. And I only say this from my experience and what I've seen and what I've dealt with my husband is he's supposed to be strong all the time. And I think it's funny because he says it all the time. You can ask him. J-Rock's pretty open that he says having girls made him soft. No, I think having girls brought out that divine femininity in him. And I think made him realize that it's okay to cry. It's okay to be soft, whatever, you know? It's okay to depend on your wife sometimes. It's okay to be loved. It's okay to be cuddled. It's fine. We don't need all that toxic masculinity. So, again, the way he talks to himself really reflects on how the girls react and his relationship with that, his relationship with himself with that. He's learning, we're growing, and we're evolving into the beings that we were created to be. So remember, seriously, the relationship you have with yourself really affects everything around you. Another one I want to mention is the relationship I have with myself and boundaries. I've really started creating boundaries with what I say to myself, how I treat myself, and setting boundaries to outside factors, outside people. No is a complete sentence. I have to say no to myself sometimes. I have to say no to other people sometimes. And that's okay. Set boundaries. Set boundaries for yourself. When I realize I'm starting to spiral, hard stop. Hard stop, pause, reflect. Don't cross that line. Don't spiral. Don't doom scroll. I've seriously set a boundary on social medias that when I start to immediately as I start to compare myself to somebody else, somebody else's podcast, somebody else's content, I immediately get off. I'm starting to cross a boundary that's unhealthy and that isn't for me, and I'm becoming somebody I don't want to become. So shut it off. Turn it off. Do not disturb. Reflect. Pause. Why was I starting to do this? That person is completely different from me. And that's okay. I have to set those boundaries for myself. Otherwise, I start to create that toxicity in my relationship with myself. Much like I would if that were a friend talking to me and I start to feel insecure and I start to compare myself if we're having this conversation. If I get that inner monologue, that critic, that's like, "Oh, there goes Susie again. She's talking about this and she's making you feel this way." And now I'm starting to doubt things and I'm starting to compare and not feel great. I would have to pause that conversation. I'm sorry. This is not productive to our relationship. I'm sorry. I do not feel that way. And you don't always have to apologize. I have a bad habit of saying sorry. But hey, let's agree to disagree. I would like for our relationship to remain healthy. I would like to continue this relationship. However, this is crossing a line for me. However, this is making me feel uncomfortable. However, my opinion differs. While I respect yours, I think we should just, draw a line in the sand here. Let's move on. You don't always have to be right. You don't always have to argue your case. Set that boundary. Set that boundary in a healthy way to keep yourself in a healthy place with yourself and with your other relationships. And when you set those boundaries for yourself, you'll start to realize that it ripples into the relationships you have with others. Trust yourself. Don't second guess anything. And remember, loving yourself isn't about spa days and affirmations all the time. It is about setting boundaries. It's about keeping promises to yourself. It's going to bed when you said you need to go to bed. It's saying no. It's having those hard conversations. And it's not betraying yourself for approval. Don't compromise who you are, what you believe, for somebody else to give you a nod of approval. I think we do it all the time with work, school, friends. We're always seeking approval and kind of human nature, right? We're always checking to see that we're doing the right thing. But we don't have to portray ourselves and our morals to seek that approval. Half the time, we don't even need that approval. If you're okay with what you're doing and how you're living, whatever else, be okay with that. Sit in yourself with that. Be confident in the decisions you are making for yourself, for your relationship to grow, to evolve, to be the person you're supposed to be. And remember to have those hard conversations with yourself. Is it while you meditate? Is it while you're in the bathtub? Have hard conversations. Figure out the intentions behind it. Don't be afraid to go there with yourself. Think about it. If you were on a blind date, you would want to ask all the hard questions off the bat. You would want to find out all those red flags. And you would want to evaluate if this is a relationship you want to continue, if you still want to see that person. So, do you want to show up for yourself every day? Do you still want to be present in your own skin? Yeah, have those hard conversations. Get to know yourself. And yes, one of the most important things is going to bed when you say you would go to bed. If I say I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock, don't go to bed at 10:05. Don't go to bed at 10:30. Don't go to bed at 9:55. Granted, that's really great. You got an extra 5 minutes in. But what I tend to do is, oh, I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to hop on my phone. And then that relationship starts to get a little bit rocky because I went somewhere I wasn't supposed to go for those 5 minutes. Or I'm doing something I said I wasn't going to do for those 5 minutes. So instead, I just totally scrapped that expectation. 10 o'clock is 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock. Self love is really about discipline more than it is about the vibes. Yes, I have zero discipline. Hard confession. I've had to learn to become a disciplined person. Now I know all of y'all who know me are like, Mel G, you seem pretty disciplined. Nah, bruh, not disciplined whatsoever. When I say I'm going to have a serving of Lay's, I wind up eating the whole bag. Zero discipline. And I set that boundary and I crossed that line and I ate the whole bag. And now I feel horrible. Now I'm shaming myself. Now I don't feel good because I didn't discipline myself. I crossed the boundary I set. I broke my own rules. And yes, it's hard. Self love isn't just about the vibe. It's not, okay, it's hard work. Self love is supposed to be hard work. Any relationship worth being in is work. And again, the relationship with yourself is the hardest relationship we have. It's supposed to be work. It's supposed to be hard to level up. It's just like you would play in a video game. Every level, every world gets harder and harder. Why? I don't know. When I meet my creator, I will ask him that or her that. I will ask them that when I meet them. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna have to put in work. Like Britney Spears says, you want a hot body? You want a Bugatti? You better work, bitch. And that's why, honestly, self love is so hard. You can't heal with what you won't sit with. And I'll end with that mic drop right there. Anyways, have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, wherever you're listening to this at. I hope you give yourself the time, the grace to be in the greatest relationship of all, and that is the relationship with yourself. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Low Key Thriving. Remember, we're all here on this planet to have a unique experience. We're all here to evolve into the person we're meant to become. For some, it may turn into tomorrow. For some, it may be 10 years. For some, you may not figure it out until you're 165. I don't know if I want to live that long. Anyways, remember, you're thriving, even if it looks like rock bottom, even if it looks like chaos, or even if it looks like the bottom of a Ben& Jerry's ice cream tub. If you felt seen, heard, or mildly attacked, let me know in the comments. Let's engage with each other with intention. And share, like, subscribe. You know the drill. Anyways, stay low-key thriving. Till next time. Okay, bye.
Woke up, new day,